Alright guys, so unfortunately I updated my Chromebook here, and apparently it it altered the order that my files are saved in, which is why the last 3 or 4 videos that I've uploaded I've had to delete and then re-upload, because it's usually the newest would go to the top, and now it saves by the size of the file. I'm drinking tea, sorry. So so the last few I've uploaded have been the wrong file. I just did this video. It was over an hour long, and I uploaded it, deleted it, moved on, and then went to check on it and realized it was consent in Nuremberg. So firstly, I apologize about that, but we got to get into this, and this is something to some information and some ideas we're going to explore to help us separate the first man from the second man, okay? And it's 11:15 at like almost midnight. So I'm not going to be able to go off on the tangents and all that stuff like I did, and the full upload that I deleted. But we will get this done one way or another. And considering Big Sib uploaded today and John 8 also uploaded today, today is a damn good day to be on YouTube, you know. I'm just fixing my screen here. Sorry. Alright, so what we're talking about is the first man and the second man, and we're going to try to figure out why it is that no matter how much we talk to people and explain to them what's going on, the way that things are, they refuse to hear it. They will shut down and just lock up mentally. We're going to figure out why. So we're going to try to figure out what makes us different from them, okay? And by the end of this, you'll realize the difference is we are alive. We are living men and women. We are living spirits, life-giving spirits, and they are dead. There's no life in them. So why is it that they don't understand what we see plainly? It's obvious to you and me. And when we try to explain to them why or what is going on, they don't understand it. And that is because you and I speak in tongues. If you go to the biblical explanation of tongues, you will see that they spoke the mother language. For you and I, that would be English. They spoke English, but the people that they were talking to just couldn't understand what they were saying. And that's what's going on with us and the normies. We'll call them the normies. So, in short, in a couple sentences, this is the difference. The spiritual is not first, but the natural, then the spiritual. Those who, the normie, cannot see what we see because they stopped growing mentally, psychologically, spiritually, and they remain as the first man. They remain trusting in Adam. They remain trusting in man, the earthly man, this earth. You and I, we are the second man. We are the Lord from heaven. So in a little more detail, right? Men and women are born physically, and then after general education, growing up, becoming an adult, we continue learning, and we begin to love and have compassion and try to understand new things. And in that process, a new man is discovered within us. The second man. That new man had been there the entire time. Okay, and this is the rose, the flower, the flower that grows out of soil. the beauty that comes from the dirty. This is the rose that grows through stone, the sword in the stone. The good comes from the bad. The puppet and the real boy, Pinocchio. Mufasa and Simba. The masses, they never reach this phase. They never become that second man. They never develop the second man within themselves. They assume that all the knowledge there is to be had is already possessed by men, scientists, politicians, doctors. They know everything. They're infallible and should not be questioned. And if you do those things, you will be shunned. All truth to these people is physical and literal. There is no spiritual truth. And if you can't give them the spiritual truth, they don't want it. They're normies. There's nothing in their mind, there's nothing that they need to do but give in to their own heart's desires, the wicked desires of their heart, and they remain in the mind that they were born with. Unfortunately, by surrendering to the first mind, the second mind never develops. Conversely, the second mind is developed by taking the reins of the flesh and using reason to make decisions rather than impulse, habits, and training. Let me make sure this is cool here. Alright. So, shit, I gotta fix this again, guys, sorry. Yeah, I updated my Chromebook and it just went right downhill. I'm so sorry. The thing is, there are two men, the first man, the second man. Each man possesses his own mind, respectively. The first man has the animal mind that's for this world and developed by this world. The second man has a spiritual mind that is developed on its own. You develop it on your own by not allowing the first mind to take control. This is the higher and the lower mind. The first mind is the lower mind given to you by this world. The second mind is the higher mind given to you by God Himself, where all wisdom comes from. Wisdom, Jesus, love, truth, discipline, all these things are at the right hand of God because they're all one thing. This is the animal mind, the divine mind, the mind that is in Christ, and the ego. The higher mind is the mind that is in Christ. The ego is the lower mind, the animal mind. We've been over this. The male and the female, Adam, the first man, and Christ, the second. So this is the putting away of the dead things. Getting rid of the first mind. Once you take control of it, it gets less and less and less will it even appear and send these wild thoughts, stressful, anxiety-inducing thoughts into your mind until eventually they stop completely. And that's when you are the second man. This is the process of putting away the dead things. This is the process of going from of this world. You were created by this world, for this world, to survive in this world, to awakening to who you truly are, taking control of the animal, and thus just being in this world. Now, for some reason, I'm going to call that the short answer, but let's get into some detail here. I'm pretty sure that by the time I had made it to this point last time, I was already over 30 minutes. So that should tell you the difference in the amount of information. I'm really sorry. If I can reshoot this video sometime and fill it in with everything, I absolutely will. So, everyone gets the same thing, right? We all come in as the first man. You are born dead. Dead thoughts, dead man. Yeah. Everyone gets that. We are born into this world, taught by this world. Everyone is, and it has always been like that. 40,000 years ago, when people were in smaller groups, a baby was born, it was taught by the society and the culture that it was born into. The thing is, And I mean, in some sense, that's good, because culture makes people artistic and creatively rich. But that's where the normie ends. They are born into that, they are taught those things, and that's how they remain for their entire life. People like you and me, we have transcended the culture and the society that we were born into. That's a big difference. And like I said, that's where most people end their growth. They learn everything from this world, and that's it. They are a product of their environment, and with partial influence from genetic traits, mom and dad. But everyone, honestly, knows intuitively that there is more to life than just the physical. Obviously, even if you go to the light spectrum, a small portion of light is visible. A small portion of elements are visible. The greater part of everything is invisible. The visible is the temporary. The invisible is forever. And so, because we knew this intuitively, instinctually, so to speak, we continued to look around and learn. We overcame the traits given to us by our environments, and we are no longer just images of our parents. A lot of us, myself included, were abandoned by our parents. Not only did my parents give me away when I was 18 months old, but as an adult, they can't fucking stand me. When I come around, they're unhappy. And I went into several examples. It was 2 or 3 different examples here of what I mean by that. And maybe if I can squeeze it in here, I'll put it in a different spot. Just, alright, so all men have a set of morals built into them. It's who you are. You know these things. You know right from wrong. Morality is not subjective, okay? I understand what is good for the spider is chaos for the fly. I get that. But animals don't have a higher nature. And I mean, if you believe you're a monkey fish frog, thank you, Big Sib, then sure, you can play that game if you want. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you say that there is none of either, then you're lying to yourself to justify your own immoral behavior. And that's the only excuse. That's it. But because those morals and those principles are built into us from birth, the normie abandons those principles and accepts the principles of society. And that's why right now society is declining into immorality really, really fast, because they betrayed themselves. They abandoned what they knew was right so that they could get away with doing what is wrong. And you can see this anywhere you want to look. And so, by not abandoning these morals and principles that were built into us, we maintained some form of control over this flesh. Even when we wanted to do things that were wrong, we knew intuitively that it was wrong and didn't do it, while others did it for the instant gratification. The normies have remained the same people that they were when they were 18. They could very well be unconscious. There's a good chance that they are indeed unconscious. But they have and have never had any intention to continue growing, and they believe that who they are now is just who they are, and that's all that they can be, and that's that animal nature. You can never teach a dog to be anything but a dog. But a man, a spirit, the Spirit of God within man can overcome any of those things. And that's the difference. That's the deadly thing about believing in evolution. If you believe that you were a fish and a monkey and a frog and a reptile, then and there is no Spirit of God within you, you can never be anything but those things. You can never be anything more than a monkey, fish, frog, reptile. You can't be more, because that's what you are. But if you believe that there is a higher nature in you, then you can overcome the monkey, fish, frog. So when people say evolution is a good thing, or evolution even if you do believe it, it does no harm. Yes, indeed it does. Just like when a man goes to God, he must know that God is there. Because what you know determines a lot of what you're capable of, as I just said. So they gave up on growing and becoming better people because they believed they were animals the entire time. Their parents were animals, their grandparents were animals, and everybody will always be an animal. They love that lower nature. You can see the animal mind dominating them. Their behavior, their decision making, the way that they act towards other people, they are animals. I'm not saying it because I believe it, because I know they're not animals. But they reject the greater thing within them, and they accept the lesser. They reject the flower that grows from the soil because they love the dirt so much. Alright. They are all ego, and a big problem is they refuse to be humbled. They won't do it. They're always right. They're always the best. Ego. That's what it's all about. Their physical body and the mind that comes with the physical body will not allow them to, to appear weak, you could say. And that, in my opinion, is one of the key factors that separates us from them. The most humble people you will ever meet are the people that know that God is within them. Some of the worst people that you can meet are the people that believe that God is up in the sky somewhere and you only meet him after you're dead. They are some of the most bitter, hateful people. It's almost like training, right? We're all trained as we grow by society and this world. This is partially what the Matrix is about. We are all part of this awful system that intentionally tortures men, women, and children for its own benefit and to propagate its own existence. And people allow this to happen because they believe they are animals and they need this system of government. And to some degree they do. There is a good reason. This is something I really struggle with, if you can't tell. There is a good reason for the commercial code and the system of control that exists in this world. And that is for these people that believe they're animals. But it will infinitely entertain them. It'll say, yeah, you're an animal. It'll give them anything they want. And that's why we have everything happening in politics right now, which is just absolute crap. Total crap. Alright. It tortures men, women, and children for its own benefit, just like they change laws for their own benefit and to perpetuate its own existence. But this system of governance that men have adopted does not exist outside of the imagination. It is a dead thing. It does not have life. It's never existed anywhere. It is a group delusion that people pretend is real and agree to. If you could show me somewhere in nature that this system of governance existed, then I will absolutely withdraw my statement, but you're not going to find it. You're not going to find anything even remotely close to the system or the form of government that men have created for theirself. It's unnatural and it's ungodly and it is awful. And as I said, it tortures men and women and children. The state will take your children and also spread rumors that the state is trafficking children. And people still let them take their children. It's insane. Alright. And the sad part is that this system contains within itself a spirit. It's a spirit of defiance and ignorance. And all who are a part of it have them spirits, and they love them. Anyway, the body, there is two men. Each man has its own mind. The body has a mind of its own. That's the animal. The desires of the body: sex, drugs, attention, power, fame, food, money, ego. Ego desires is what it is. The flesh wants to be king over all. It is a tyrant. It is the Nebuchadnezzar. It is a tyrant. The flesh just wants power. This is visible, as I just said, about the same things, basically. Look around. You can see it. If you tell somebody everybody has to have a mask when they come in here, right? And then you put a normal person who has no power in charge of making sure other people have masks, instant power trip. Instant. And this reminds me of a Bible verse as I was reading my Bible and looking at the difference between Jacob and Esau and Cain and Abel. Don't forget that we're speaking spiritually here, and we are the Abel. This world is the Cain. This world will slaughter you just because you have good things going on. If you get good news, if good things happen to you, don't tell normies, because they will do everything they can to ruin it. As I said, a lot of people I know, I keep people far from me because I know that if they see me down, they will break their foot trying to kick me, to keep me down. That's just how the normie works. Okay, so this is a good opportunity for me to get back in here and give you my example, okay? Alright, so my family, they are every one of them. Alcoholics, abusive, mentally, psychologically abusive, manipulative, selfish, greedy pieces of shit. Okay? They are what they are. I'm not gonna lie, ever. So my brother, he's been through a lot. He is somewhere in between. He has some form of awareness of these spiritual truths. It may have something to do with me, because once you learn these things, you can't see shit the way that they see shit. You just can't do it. And so, I speak the way that I speak. Right, so he has some form of awareness, but at the same time, he loves his filth. He loves drinking and drugging and being a piece of shit. That's just what it is. So one time, my brother, who is drinking and on drugs, gets I don't know if you're aware of this concept, but I am from Kentucky, and there is a thing called getting redneck, right? And that's when you get drunk and you want to fight people, and that's what my family does. They've done it far longer than I've been alive, going back to my grandpa and even before him. So he's in this state, and he starts a fight with my older brother, who didn't really kick his ass like he could have. He just kind of put him in a hold and then put him on the ground and held him down till he calmed down. So I come into the room and I see this going on, and there's like 7 people standing around just watching this shit happen, because it's violence and it's filth, and that's what they want to see. It's entertainment. And nobody said anything, did anything. They just watched and was enjoying the show. So I said, Brandon, listen, bro. You can't be doing this shit, dude. Everybody here loves you, and we want the best for you, and you need to stop this, right? My brother's got a criminal record. He's... So, as I say this, I say, everyone loves you, wants the best for you, and before I could even finish my sentence, after I said we all love you and want what's best for you, everybody in the room puts on this nasty face, like I had just physically harmed them, and looks at me and shut the fuck up, like they did not want to hear it. The pig loves his filth, is my point. There's a lot of differences between you and me, the second man, and the first man. And the first man will kill you for it. And that's the point of Cain and Abel. Let's continue. Okay. This fleshly ego, the ego is the mind of the body. This fleshly desire for power over other living men and women is what the system of governance is built upon, which, if you ponder, becomes plainly visible. It's obvious. I doubt very few, if any person involved in politics has ever actually quieted the mind, calmed the sea, and listened to the thoughts that are whispered and flow from the deeper mind. Because the deeper mind speaks softly. It's not going to force you. The animal mind is going to force you. The loud one that you can hear clearly, and it's right up front, and it'll tell you the things. It'll give you the things you don't want to see, and it'll think about the things that you don't want to think about. That's an animal. It's destruction, and it will destroy your peace. But if you quiet that, I know that it can be hard to do, but if you can quiet that, there's a whole nother mind. It's really hard to explain, but you can actually separate the thoughts that come from the lower mind from the thoughts that come from the higher mind. And it's almost like those thoughts come down into your mind. It's hard to explain. And I guess that's why metaphor is the universal language, because what I just told you, I wouldn't be able to explain that to you with mathematics, but it's something everyone can experience. But if I say it's like rain coming down into your mind, these peaceful thoughts that you can't hear when that loud animal is barking right up front, but when you quiet, you can hear them thoughts, and you can think those higher thoughts. But that's why metaphor is the universal language and not mathematics. An atomist can say that mathematics is a universal language, but it isn't. Once you leave this realm, this world, there is no more mathematics. There is no more mass. There is no more velocity. There is no more light. There is only darkness and quiet. And that's what you should get ready for. So, it is that outer mind, the barky animal mind, the ego, it is a fleshly tyrant. It wants the body to feel good at the cost of the spirit. But that fleshy tyrant, that leads the second man into hell. As I just said, the front mind will seek instant gratification that will degrade the back mind. The second man, being the true self, what you were before you got here, and what you will return to when you leave here, is the opposite. The first man is the living soul, right? It's just alive, and it goes with the flow of the world and the time and the seasons and all these things. It's controlled by the fates of life, the tides of life and fate and all those things. The second man is a life-giving spirit. That's 1 Corinthians 15:45 through 47. The second man is one who makes decisions on the causal, mental plane, makes your own decisions and doesn't just accept what they're told, who does not go with the flow but creates their own flow. The second man does not engage in moral discussions about what is right and what is wrong to figure out what is right. The second man knows what is right and doesn't compromise. He doesn't need. The first man needs to have a discussion to figure out what's right, what's wrong, based on what other people say or how they feel. The second man already knows these things and doesn't compromise. The first man tortures the second man, or the inner man, and the second man, the inner man, in an attempt to serve God, tortures the first man, the outer man, the flesh. However, this latter torture, the torture that the flesh receives from the spirit, isn't actually torture at all. It's a gift. But the light shines upon the darkness, but the darkness comprehends it not. This latter torture is like a parent ending a sleepover, or a cop busting up a college party. All the college kids are in there doing immoral shit, drinking, smoking, their reefer, whatever the hell it is college kids do these days. And the cop comes in and says, don't do that, everybody scatters, whatever. The point is, those are bad things to be doing. So the inner man stops the outer man from doing the bad things, and the outer man hates the inner man for doing it. You have to remember that you are the inner man. You don't obey that animal anymore. But majority of the people, not everyone, majority of the people around you are that outer man. They're probably unaware of the inner man. Alright, it is the same as you, a spiritual man, walking up to someone who is politically charged, somebody heavily involved in politics, calling everyone racist, white supremacist, bigot, homophobe, all these things. They just make shit up as they go now. It don't even have to make sense. So it'd be the same as you walking up to someone who is politically charged and telling them that they are a gullible fool, they are misinformed. Where's my mouse? And that their chosen master, whoever they would vote for, wants nothing more than them as a commodity, or to gain the benefit of their labor. That's all that politics is about, is one person benefiting from the work of a million. You pointing the immoral masses away from their own destruction, their own self-inflicted destruction, and toward the light, towards what is right. If you say, hey, what you're doing is wrong, this is right, they will hate you. They will hate you for it. Alright. So, the same way, right? The same way that you are the inner man, they are the outer man. You still have an outer man, and you'll have it until you leave here. You are in the flesh. That's it, until you leave. The same way that you talking to other people and telling them what's right, they'll hate you. It's the same way, the same thing happens inside of you. You still have that mind, you still have that body, you just don't give it as much power. Alright, so it's like two hive minds, okay? The body of the Satan, made up of the people who love the physical and temporal pleasures, and the body of Christ, made up of those who have circumcised their heart from this world. They don't love money, they don't love sex, drugs, any of those things, but they wish to ease the suffering of others. These are the two hive minds. Now, personally, myself, I've literally been in what you could call a relationship since I was like 16 years old. Struggling with sex, it's not an addiction for me, right? I've never personally cared. But the thing is, I have a wife who is just gorgeous beyond words, and she is something special. And so it is a problem for me. I have 5 kids. I'm 30. That's caused me a lot of stress lately. 5 kids. I have Aaron, which is my first name, and then I have Matthew, which is my middle name, and now I have a 2-week-old baby whose name is Oliver Branch, or Peace Offer, and then I have 2 daughters, Sophia and Philo, or Philo Sophia, philosophy. But I'm 30 years old with 5 kids. I'm aware of these things. The struggle is real. It's almost like the world is under a spell. And to actually come out of that spell requires constant effort and constant monitoring of the thoughts that come into your mind. It's difficult. I say that because, as the thumbnail says, don't pity the dead, whatever. Also, don't just hate them. You know, you shouldn't hate anybody. But even though they are in this world and of this world, and they love these physical ego desires, you still have to love them. You just try to help them too. So, to put it another way, and this time I'll allow the word to do the work. John 3:19. Men loved, and I mean they love, the darkness rather than the light, for their works are evil. And that is as simple as you could possibly get it. Yeah. The issue is that the masses love, like I said, they love the thoughts and desires of the flesh, the animal mind. They love it. They love not only the feeling of being thought superior to their brothers and sisters, they love the physical pleasure of sex, drugs, fatty food. They love fantasies about women, material gain, superior status. There are men, young and old, who dream about fancy cars and big houses. For what? They love this world. They love the temporal. And because they do, they are temporal. This is the world we find ourselves in, you and me. It's full of dead people thinking dead thoughts about temporary treasures. So, if a man is what is in his heart, and his heart and mind is full of things that cease to exist, the very moment that he ceases to exist, what remains of him without that animal mind and that animal body? If a man is what is in his heart, and his heart is full of temporary things, what is that man? He is temporary. He is nothing. He is a temporal man, doomed to oblivion, because he chose what's easy. He chose what was right in front of his eyes and was obviously bad and wrong, but he took it anyway, and then he began hiding from the light. Because if he doesn't hide from the light, he'll be exposed for those things that he took that were easy. He rejected the treasure, the greater treasure, which existed within him all the time and was forever. He is a shell with a grain of sand in it, while the man of spirit is a diamond that has by itself busted through the coal that formed it, that the diamond was formed in, and it shines like a lighthouse. And that is a perfect comparison. One is a big outside with just a speck inside it, and the other one is so grand on the inside that it's busted completely through the shell. So, the second man, the seeker of light, the spirit, the second man, who we all are, truly. Remember, this ego and this body is only for here. You're using it for a little while you're here, and when you leave, it stays. The energy in your body will go into the world, and because energy stays, whatever. The second man is who we were when we arrived in this place, and it's who we will return to when we leave here. And I can say that because heaven is in your midst. The kingdom of God is within you, as is hell, right? And here's an interesting point. If you die, and you're going to go to heaven or hell, it doesn't matter which one you go to, you're only going inside, because that's where both of those things exist. Because the reality is within, and the world out here is it's an inverted image. Take an image, hold it up in the mirror. That's what this place is. And someday I'll make a video talking about my personal belief on the shape of the earth, which I doubt anyone has ever put into words before. Alright, so when you die, whether you go to heaven or hell, you're only going within, which is a magnificent thing to ponder on. And remember this little statement here, because I'm going to make a video just about death and my own understanding of death. If you want to hear that, let me know. I can get that one in real soon, or I can take my time with it. Either way, I know a lot of people are even afraid to say the word, which is sad, because if you're afraid of death, you can't live. It's just what it is. So, we know from Jesus' words, which I just quoted, that all the real treasure is within. We know that heaven comes not by sight or by sign, but is within us. Okay? That means that just because there is a peace deal made by a president in the Middle East, that means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just because Trump made a peace deal between Israel and the rest of the world, it means nothing. It's an imitation. Because, as I said, the outside is a reflection of the inside. Everything that happens in this physical world is a physical reflection of the true spiritual prophecies that happen within you. Prophecy is fulfilled within you, and an image of it happens out here. Whether that's intentional, because there is a group of evil people that rule the planet, and they're reptilian, alien shapeshifters who are the Nephilim and fallen angels, or this is something subconscious that men have no control over. I'll leave that up to you. I have my own beliefs, but I'm not going to make yours up for you. So, heaven comes not by sight or sign, but is within man. The covenant of God is within man. The kingdom of heaven is within man. The Holy Spirit, the Spirit of love and truth, love and truth are the same thing, is within man. And we know that because Jesus told us those things. Now, who was Jesus, right? He is that man, that inner man. Not the flesh, but the one who conquers the flesh and gives it no power. That's the second man. 1 Corinthians 15:47. The first man, Adam, most people, is from the earth. Earthy, made of dust. The second man, Christ the Lord, is from heaven. Heaven is inside. The second man comes out from inside. A thing that most people don't recognize is that in ancient Sumerian, whatever, the ones who talk about the Anunnaki, they say that the Anunnaki came from space. They came down from space. What it actually says is that the Anunnaki came from inner space. Take that in. Inner space. So, the second man, Christ the Lord, is from heaven. That doesn't mean that he was in the past and he isn't anymore. That means Christ is the second man. Not was a second man, is the second man. And we know now that Christ is now within us, where the second man is, in heaven, waiting for us to conquer the first man. My will decrease, my personality, my ego decrease, and your will come forth. That's it. That's what it is. And so to that, I say, whoever wishes to save his life will lose it. Whoever wishes to remain that ego man in temporal, materialistic bullshit will die. Period. But whosoever loses his life for my sake will find it. This is Jesus' words, okay? So whoever puts away that first man for the second man will find life. Because, again, you're born dead. We all are. Or another version, Whoever loves his life, the first man's life, will lose it. But whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. So, my understanding, whoever clings to this world as the first man and the things that it offers will never get those things it offered. Eventually, even if you did get those material possessions, even if you did get the supermodels and the fast cars and the big houses and the drug money and whatever it is that materialists are seeking these days, eventually those things will be taken from you, inevitably, by death, the second death. You will not win those things. No matter what you do, you will never have them. You'll have them, and then you'll leave them. Alright, and this is something the Egyptians knew all too well. So, you've gained nothing. Nothing. When you leave here, nothing. However, those who don't care for the material desires, but do care for the minds of the people, me, that's why I do this, because I want people to do even greater things than I do, to far, far, far surpass what I'm here doing. People that do care for the minds of the people and love and sharing love with people and being generous and easing suffering and making people happy and smile with joy and inside a true happiness, not instant gratification or physical pleasure. Not those. I mean true joy that you feel deep down in your heart. Those people will have those things remain forever, eternally. Thus, the second death, the physical death, is a great thing for the second man, because you're only losing the dead weight. You're only losing the flesh. You're losing the flesh, but you're winning the battle against the flesh. You no longer have that fight. While the man who hasn't died the first time, the ego man, he believes he's a goner. And so he is. The second death is not something to fear. It is a great, great thing. And so, remember this video. Remember these little statements I've made here when I do my video on death. I'm sure I'll say it 7 more times in that video, but just in case I don't. So, and this is the first death, right? The first death is when you let go of what this world made you and your ego and your need for power, control, money, fame, success, cars, all those things, even down to food. I know a lot of people who are gluttons. I'm a glutton myself. I eat Reese's Fast Breaks and ice cream like no other. Alright. You born and raised part of this world. It's got to die. Okay, so this first death, it is brought about by repentance, a radical change in thinking and behavior. Those things have to happen, and when it does, you are made a new person. Okay, the old you dies, and there is a new you that doesn't even look back on those dead things. Alright, we're almost done here. So, do not think that Jesus came in the past and is now gone. No. Jesus manifests in the flesh now and brings about life. You are born dead. Jesus is the second man within. When he comes out, you come alive and you have life abundantly. Okay. So, also, very truly, verily, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the work I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father, which is something else that I need to have a discussion about. Because if the second man is within you, waiting to come out, there's an even greater discussion that needs to be had about Jesus going to heaven and leaving, sending the Spirit. This is a process. This is a psychological process. The first man couldn't see these things. If he watched this video, he would think I'm fucking insane, because he can't hold it in his hand and look at the pieces of it and count it and add it up. He can't quantify it, so it doesn't exist. He doesn't know what dwells within him. He is a monkey fish frog, and all he can ever be is a monkey fish frog. He believes that there was a man named Jesus, and he came and he said some stuff, and some people wrote a book about him. That's it. They crucified him on a cross, and that was it. Cross has two meanings. It means the symbol, two perpendicular, is it perpendicular? Lines, a T, and it means switch. Jesus is crucified on the cross, the switch, and returns to the Father and sends you the Spirit of love and truth. Okay, so the first man is an atomist, as in atom. Not just Adam, the first man, but atom, as in proton, neutron, electron, molecules, particles, add it up and see it. Which honestly, all this molecular bullshit is hypothetical. And even though they can see it under a microscope, they can look down to the atomic level, it's still hypothetical. How? Either it's not hypothetical or you can't see it. It can't be both. Alright. He must be able to see and add it up. And so the first man will never understand anything I just said. They hear me speak in English. They know that I'm using the same words that they use, but they can't wrap their head around what I'm saying. I'm speaking in tongues to these people. While the first man has to be able to touch it, look at it, and count it, and quantify it to believe it. The second man, he understands things without needing to physically touch it and count it and add it all up and get a number and use numbers and figure everything out. The second man doesn't need those things. The second man understands, and then the pieces fit together. The differences could go on for a long time, so I'm going to stop making them. There's a lot of them. A lot of differences between me and you and the people like us and the normie. The normie won't get it. Very few of them do. You know the thing. 1,000 are called, one is chosen. Alright. And there are few similarities. Other than physical appearance, obviously. And this is part of the point. Okay? We are all in this lower earth body. But as this body grew and the mind grows, the first man, when the body stops growing, the mind stops growing. But those who are or will become the second man, their mind never stops growing. My mind expands and expands and expands and expands, and I know a lot of stuff. Like I don't boast or anything, but I know what I know. And even sometimes as I read these, after I type these all up, these videos I make, as I'm reading them, there's still things that I'm learning and expanding my mind. So it benefits me too. So as I said, when the physical body stops growing, the earthly man stops growth, period. The second man, the body stops growing, and it doesn't matter because he's not the body. He is just in the body. Okay, and also as the earth body and the spiritual body Each one has its own mind. The lower mind for the earth body, the higher mind for the spiritual body. The first man can only perceive the things of the body and the earth mind, while the second man can perceive things with the tools that it has. It's like squares and circles. I'm sorry. I really wish there was a better example for this. We'll use triangles and stars, okay? The first man is a triangle, and it knows that it's a triangle, and that's what it can see triangles wherever triangles are. The second man is a star. It has triangles. It has big triangles and little triangles, and it sees them, and it sees the triangle that the first man is, and it sees that there's 5 triangles and hexagon. Oh, I don't know. But the second man can perceive many things, while the first man can only perceive triangles. If that helps you understand what I'm trying to convey here, I hope it does. But the physical mind can perceive of the physical and only the physical. The spiritual mind can perceive of the spiritual plus the physical. It is not equal to, it is greater than. So, that was a pretty good metaphor there. Stars and triangles. So, the first man is habit, desire, impulse, and those things. The second man controls those things by slowing the mind, still the water, quiet it down, and move slowly. Very slowly. The faster you move, the more habits and less decisions that you use reason to make. So, the second man, me and you, the spiritual people, we are able to comprehend with what we are. Our spirit, a body, and within that body is who we are. We are not the body, we are in the body. The first man is the body. He denies the inner man altogether, and he is skin and bones. He's a dead thing. The body might be alive, it might grow, but it's as good as dead. So, I'm sorry, I just made more comparisons, didn't I? Alright, this body belongs to this earth. What's within this body cannot be contained by this earth. It transcends it by far. Alright, so, no matter what we do, no matter how many normies that we go up to and we try to explain this shit to, they're never gonna, they don't care, they don't want to know. They want to be able, the pig wants to be able to roll in mud without being told it needs a bath. That's it. That's the best way to put it, actually. They love their filth. And if you tell them that's filthy, they're going to get mad at you. So right here, I wrote, I'm sorry, I got a little bit rambly. That's true. I'm sorry, I got a little bit rambly. To sum this up, wrap this up, move on. The difference is what we are. That's it. The first man is of this world. He is his body. That's what he wants to be. That's all he can recognize. The second man realizes everything the first man believes is bullshit, and he dove into the truth. And I gotta say, the people, the normies, they don't know shit, dude. They don't know anything. But you and I, we can only know one thing. Know thyself. Within man is the covenant of God. Okay, this is the ark of the covenant. It's within man. The Bible says that. And no matter how many times the normie reads that exact statement, he will never understand. He will think that there is a golden box somewhere in the world that Hitler found, and he moved it to somewhere, and if you touch it, you die. That's really what this guy thinks. Or these people, I'm sorry. That's really what they think. Outside the Ark of the Covenant is a box of ceremonial laws. Inside the Ark of the Covenant is the real law, God's law. When the first man comes to the Ark of the Covenant, he will die. The second man will understand God's laws within the covenant. Alright, so man is the law. God's law. That's what you are made of. That's how the body operates. That's how the spirit the whole thing. It operates on law. And so when the first man says, you pull up to a red light at 4 a.m. on a deserted back road and you're the only person sitting there, you must sit there for 7 minutes at that red light while no one is around. You have to, because that's what the commercial code says. If you obey laws that govern the movement of merchandise and property and dead things, you are a dead thing. That's it. If you obey the laws that God made for living men and women, you are a living man or woman. It's that easy. You are a slave to what you obey. If you obey rules for dead things, you're a dead thing. You are a slave to dead things. If you obey the laws of the living, you are a slave to the living. That was poor. I'm sorry. Oh shit, my laptop's about to die. Alright, so heaven comes not by sight, meaning your physical eyes will never perceive it. They can't. There is no sun, and there is not what the physical eyes call light. What the spiritual eyes call light is knowledge, because knowledge, and it illuminates the darkness in the mind. The spiritual realm lights up knowledge, knowledge of God's law. And alright, lastly, I'm going to sum this up. There's truth, wisdom, and love, and these are all three the same thing. If you have true love, you have wisdom and truth. If you have truth, you have wisdom and love. If you have wisdom, you have truth and love. I hope that was all three. If not, you get my point. No matter how much time goes on, even after you escape this realm of time, even after you escape this realm where time is, those things will still be there, while gravity will not, while the laws of thermodynamics will not. Sorry guys, I gotta wrap this up though. I still ended up at over an hour. Okay, so lastly, there's a saying, okay? Teaching the mind, which is what the first man's all about, without teaching the heart, which is what the second man is all about, is no teaching at all. Just because you mentally comprehend something doesn't mean that you are done with that information. You have to incorporate truth into who you are. If you know that killing things is bad, yet you don't hesitate to step on flowers and little bugs, then you may be intellectually aware that that is true, but you are not living that truth. That's hypocrisy.
Aaron.
Oh.
What you doing, bud?
Hold on, guys. Alright, that was my neighbor. My bad. Alright, so I'm leaving now. Before I go, I want to say what you should do, I recommend everyone do, is quiet the mind, the outer mind, everything. Quiet it all of it, everything in your head. Quiet it, shut it up. Everything that's bothered you in the past, forget about it. Everything that you're stressed about from the future, forget about it. Just quiet that shit. Empty your mind completely. You'll feel bliss come over you. It's almost like your natural state is bliss, but being in this world just fucks your mind up. So you quiet down that storm, okay? And that's how you enter into the prayer closet. Inside all that stress and worry and anxiety, on the other side of it, when you let it go and it dissipates and there's nothing left but quiet, you're in the prayer closet. Okay, that storm, all that worry and stress, that's the outer court. The Gentiles, they run that place down. But when you leave the outer court, you enter into the inner sanctum. Okay, and that's your prayer closet. In that prayer closet is where the second man meets you. Literally. You'll hear it. You'll hear a voice. When you are sitting in dead quiet and you start hearing a fucking voice, everything changes. Everything. That voice will lead you into the Holy of Holies. You don't have to converse with the voice or any of that shit, but when that voice comes and you have this euphoria feeling that you want to remain in forever, you are in the Holy of Holies. You are on the throne. You are in God's chamber. You are in the bosom of Abraham. All those things. You have entered Jerusalem, the holy city, the real Israel. All those things. That's what this whole thing is about. Is when you quiet the mind, shut it off completely. Shut the fucking animal up. You'll get there. Remember this, right? Moses climbed up the mountain to meet God, okay? That means he let go of all his depression and worry and anxiety and fear. He left that all at the bottom of the mountain. He went up the mountain and encountered a tornado, a flaming tornado. Inside that tornado was God, who he fell down on his face to worship. So, those are your directions, right? Quiet your mind completely. Sit in peace. Just be at peace. Not the peace that you'll get in this world. Sorry. The peace that's inside of you that only Jesus can bring you. So, do this. Do that. Quiet your mind. Go through the storm. Find peace. Find your Maker who lives within you. But before you start off on that adventure, know this. Hebrews 11:6. Without faith it is impossible to please God. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. If you get there and you do hear that voice, let him know I sent you, because I want the cookies, you know. Wisdom 1:2, very beginning of the book of Wisdom. He is found by those who do not test him, and manifests himself to those who do not disbelieve him. In other words, you have to know. Literally, if you believe that the Bible tells you the truth, right? I just told you what the Bible says. The Bible says that without a doubt, there is no doubt, God lives within man. That means that if you are alive, he is within you. And I just told you how to get to him. Quiet the mind. Wait patiently. He'll come. He absolutely will. God wishes all men would come to repentance and seek him. So, all you have to do is know and then go. That's it. Not hope, not try and see or test him, because that's what that means. I'm going to test it and see if I can talk to God. No, you absolutely can. And he wants you to. That's what the whole Jesus thing is about. Jesus is something like a middleman between you and the Father. Jesus is the only mediator. I got 3 minutes left and my laptop's going to die. Sit calmly, clear your mind. You'll enter the prayer closet when you come to peace. Speak to God. But remember that sentence. He that cometh to God must believe that God is there, and you will find him. Okay, so The first man will think I am an absolute insane person and I should be locked up. They will never actually do what I said. They will never actually believe a word that I said or you say. They're normies. They're part of this world. If they can't add it up and touch it, it's not real to them. But it very much is real. This is not only my experience, but this is the people who experienced this are the people who wrote the Bible. Another person that experienced this is Big Sib, who just said the same exact thing that I've been saying since I started making videos. This is why I started making videos, because I entered into the Holy of Holies, and it was so wonderful that I had to tell other people about it. But the normie will never believe this. There's an atheist guy who goes around and dislikes every video that I make, and that's okay. I love that guy too. I'm glad he comes to see me. You know, maybe he just don't like my beard. Beard's weird, but it is what it is. So forgive the normie. Don't hate them. You gotta love them too. Peace out, everybody. I love you all.